Hey guys, in this batch drop I got some interesting ones. We're going to roll through them, talk about them a little bit, and as of the posting of this video, they are available on reveriedrums.com. So, first up we have a 21-inch Tributary cymbal. This one weighs 2,074 grams. This one's funky. I took it through a ton of processing, lots of layering, lots of topography, really deep pin lathing. It's got 3 brass rivets. It's got a tall shape. The underside there, it actually has a little bit of, I don't know if it's gonna show in this, but it's got a little bit of pitting going on from the blank. And so I saw the pitting there and I was like, I don't really want to lathe enough to get through all that pitting, so I'm just gonna leave it there. And so I kind of had this, I don't know what you call it, like reckless abandon when it came to the cymbal. It was like, it became less, it became an experimental cymbal. I'm gonna really just test the limits of, you know, how tall can I get it? How much topography with the really deep lathing? How can I get this crazy patina on it? And I really love how it turned out. It's a very, very excellent sounding cymbal in my mind. It's got that kind of growly, complex dragon's breath thing, but the stick definition isn't too muddied by that. And the rivets are nice in the underbelly of the cymbal, but they don't really like build up to overshadow the stick definition, in my opinion at least. It's got a nice crash to it too. It's got a really pretty significant taper at the edge, so the crash feels really nice. Opens up quick. The cymbal doesn't feel sluggish. Yeah, really nice one, that guy. And then we have a flat ride. We have a 20.5 Prism flat, weighs 1,992 grams. My flat ride journey started when I met the amazing drummer Dave King. He came to my shop. He brought his prized flat ride that is a Zildjian flat top that was one of the earlier models they made that are just so thin. I think this thing was in the 1,600 gram range for a 20. And he let me keep it for a few months and make some prototypes, and that was really where I fell in love with flat rides. I don't make all of them that paper thin because sometimes you want a little bit more body and oomph to the stick definition. And so this is one that has a little bit more weight to it. Being that it's 20 and a half inches in diameter, that 1,992 gram thing, you know, if it was right on 20, it would be more in the 1,800 gram range. But the Dave King cymbals I made were, you know, upper 1,600, lower 1,700 gram range cymbals. So that was really aimed at trying to get just this explosive crash, which flat rides don't typically crash. This one, however, I was able to get the weight on it to have the real nice clarity in the stick, but it still crashes. So it's not like a typical flat ride in that it's just chunky sounding and non-existent on the crash. This one has a good one, I think. So apart from the sloppy playing, I think it's a pretty nice sounding cymbal. Next up, we have an old favorite, something that has come back to me. It's literally traveled the world, and it's found its way back to me. This is a cymbal that I did on a commission for a customer, and they sent me an extremely detailed message of what they wanted me to create. And I created it for them. I had reference videos and reference pictures even of the exact cymbal I was making it to emulate. And I think I got super close. The customer didn't think so, which is totally fine. They have a very interesting setup in their room, and so they didn't really know what they needed to get kind of the sound they had in their head. They were just kind of going off a video, which, you know, I've talked about in other videos that, like, You got to take into account the mics that stuff is recorded with. Is there processing? Is there EQ? Is there all that kind of stuff? Because it really will change the way a cymbal is perceived when you're actually sitting behind it versus when you're listening to the video. There's also all the other elements like the headphones you're using. You know, which medium are you looking at it on? Is it Instagram? Is Instagram compressing it any? You know, there's too much to it, which is why cymbal buying is very, very hard. So this one was sent back to me, not really used at all, and I've kept it and wanted to put it in a batch, and now this is the batch that it's going to be in. So it's a 21.5. I etched into it like what it was aimed after, and so it's an old stamp 2B, old K, Tributary style cymbal. It weighs 2,024 grams, so it weighs the year we are living in. Amazing. It has a hand-formed bell with a nice, it's nice and wide, it's nice and low. It's got a really nice trajectory change, so it's not too integrated. Yeah, one of the best bells I think I've ever made, to be honest. And then the curvature on it is just kind of bold. It's kind of rounded and bold. It doesn't have any kind of hooks or craziness going on. The idea with this cymbal and the reference cymbal that it's aimed after is it's not supposed to be this aggressive, shrill, like sounding cymbal. It's supposed to be a little bit more mellow and warm. So yeah, I think this one sounds fantastic. It is very, very thin. 21.5, 2,024 grams. That's thin. That's real thin. So this is great for lower volume acoustic jazz, acoustic music, definitely recordings. It's a special cymbal, I think, so check it out. For such a thin cymbal, it responds great. It has nice stick definition. It's got this really nice glassy top end, icy sounding top end, which a lot of people describe old Ks as having this iciness to it, to the stick definition. And then you have this kind of low kind of thing that's very buried in the mix. And then it's, to me, this is like the epitome of a well-balanced cymbal given the specs that it has. So I like it a lot. It's interesting, interesting, interesting. All right, what have we not checked out? What have we not checked out? We've checked out, here we go, here we go. This one's funky, funky. Okay, so we got our two 22s in the Timothy Roberts line. This one's real funky, real specific. It's a 22-inch Labyrinth, 2,151 grams, so I am really going for it with these super thin cymbals today. Wide, low bell, hand-formed, pin lathing, big umbrella shape. Definitely like Bill Stewart-esque cymbal, but thin. So thinner Bill Stewart. It's not as aggressive and abrasive to the ear because of the weight, but it's balanced enough to have a nice stick definition, but it's got that real like kind of sound that lives in the underbelly of the sound. So let's check it out. So this one has a lot of sound. It's a big sounding cymbal. What you can do, which is great about these kinds of cymbals that are set up like this, is you could do the Bill Stewart clamping technique where you just clamp the wing nut down, add a felt, clamp the wing nut down, and that kind of gates the crash a little bit, gates the sustain and the wash. Or you could add a little bit of tape and dry it up. And I've used this cymbal in a couple of my gigs, and I didn't ever have to tape it or clamp it, because the stick definition was plenty clear, but in certain rooms, it might just really get too big, and you have that option. And that's the great thing about thinner cymbals is you can always control them. I'm not a purist in that, like, I never want to tape my cymbals. You got to tape sometimes for certain rooms. Sometimes you go into a room, it's so reverberant that the sound is just bouncing around everywhere and your cymbal just sounds like a washy mess. Whereas in other rooms, it's like tons of stick definition. And that's just the beauty and the frustration of cymbals, is that they sound different in every single room that you're in, and they translate different versus your drum room versus like a cafe gig or a venue. They're always going to respond differently, which is why we as drummers collect so many cymbals. We want to have options and colors that fit the various situations that we find ourselves in. So interesting cymbal. Again, that's the 22-inch Labyrinth, 2,151 grams. And we got this one. This one might favorite or second favorite of the batch. This is a 22-inch Tributary, 2,369 grams. Nice topography to the cymbal. Very, very mild patina because it has a hand-formed bell, and the way that I made it, it just had so much control. So a heavy patina like I do on a lot of my Tributaries would just not make sense for this. It would make it too dry. And we want to have life in the cymbal and kind of breath and air in the cymbal. Sometimes it's nice to have just a dry ride, and you're like, that's my go-to dry ride. But for a normal cymbal, you want to have the ability to have range to it. So it can have a lot of life and have air, or it can be dry and controlled. We can use techniques like our stick, our grip, tape, or clamping the wing nut. All kinds of things can be used to make a wet cymbal drier, but when you got a super dry cymbal, and it just kind of is what it is. But this one has a nice breath to it, a nice range to it. Very interested in how this one sounds. I really like it. Yeah, this is the kind of cymbal that, to me, it's like just enough aggression, just enough growl and anger to make it super intriguing to play, but it's not so much that it just kind of muddies up the clarity of the cymbal. So this is another well-balanced cymbal. I think this one and that 21.5 Old K Tribute cymbal, these two are my favorite when it comes to just balance. I'm usually looking for balance in my cymbals, but we don't always want balance to be the #1 trait. Sometimes we want a really funky cymbal that's real ornery and specific in how you got to play it. And sometimes you want a super clean cymbal that's really not going to give you any fuss. It's just going to do the job. And then sometimes you're trying to find this middle ground, perfect cymbal that kind of does it all. This would be a cymbal that, to me, in the way that I play, the venues and the gigs that I play, this would be kind of a cymbal that would be sort of like the Holy Grail, could do a lot of stuff for me. The crash is really great and big. I could play it in a church gig or a rock gig as a big crash, but then I could also play it in my low volume jazz gig and big band. I could play it everywhere. So that's maybe my favorite, not quite sure, but yeah, we'll leave it as a mystery. All right, so the last two in this batch are Reverie prototypes. I've talked about this in other videos. The Reverie prototypes are my lower priced cymbal option. They have less time spent on them, less layering processes, a little bit more simple, a little bit more clean, straightforward, to the point kind of sounds. And so the first one here is a 23-inch Reverie prototype, foundation dry, 2,668 grams. This one's really smoky and dry, controlled. I love it. A second ago, I was talking about those cymbals that just do the job and they do it well. This is one of those cymbals. And it's in the zone of being versatile, but it's got a drier, more smoky sound, warm, smoky, kind of like, It really does the job. It's got beef to it, so you can really lay into this, and the bell would cut, you know, but not so much that it's kind of abrasive to the ear. I really love a cymbal like this, and this is a kind of cymbal that is a great cymbal to have in your arsenal when you need this kind of sound. Really dig it. Yeah, that's the 23-inch Reverie Prototype Foundation Dry, 2,668 grams. And last but not least, we have the 21 Reverie Prototype Lab Cymbal, 2,177 grams. Let's check it out. What more is there to say? That's a gigging cymbal. That'll get the job done on the gig. It's got enough interest and intrigue to be fun and inviting to play. It's not boring. It's not one-dimensional. It's got brightness. It's got darkness. It's got a crash. It's got stick clarity. Yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Like I said at the beginning, all of these cymbals are available as of the posting of this video on reveriedrums.com, so you can head over there and pick one up if you like it. If you're visiting this video later and all of these are gone, at least let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. I'm torn between the two Tributaries, the 21.5 and the 22. Both I would love to keep in my arsenal. I always have cymbals in each of the batches that I post that I am this close to keeping for myself, but I can't do that. I gotta release them into the world. My creations, I have to send them out to find homes elsewhere, find new lives with you guys. So yeah, let me know in the comments below about that. After I wrap up this video, I will play all of the demo videos. So the ones where the camera's behind you, the mic's behind me, different sticks, so you can hear the kind of the range and sort of more so how it sounds behind the kit, which is super important, obviously. So thanks again. Drop a comment, subscribe, hit the bell if you want notifications, and keep an eye out for the next video. My name is Timothy Roberts. See you later. All right, guys, as a little postscript to these batch drop videos, I wanted to show you guys the kit that I used. It is 2 drums that are the same circumference. So we got a 15-inch snare drum, 15 by 5, and yes, 15 by 5. Ribbon mahogany. This is a brand new drum we made. The kick drum is an old Ludwig field snare drum. So it's a 15 by 11, 15 by 12 maybe, that we restored. Someone had taken the single tension hardware and sprayed gold hardware, gold paint on the hardware. And I was gonna strip that off, but it just looked so cool. I was like, we gotta keep this thing. So single tension drum, it's got 10 lugs. It's funky. It's got a low tuning to it, so I can actually bury the beater and get a great sound out of it. But I could also play the beater off the head and get a nice open sound. I've used this on so many jazz gigs recently. It is a really killer sound, and I recently purchased a bunch of old vintage snare drums that I'm going to convert into small bass drums, and we're going to offer them eventually. So if you're interested in a sound like this, hit me up. We can actually, we've got the stuff to make them. This is my personal one, and what I love about this combination is that there's wildness to each drum. There's a wildness to a 15-inch snare drum. This is an 8 lug, if I didn't say it, so it's got kind of this ringy open thing, but I've got really wide snares on it too, so the wide snares allow it to have kind of this like hissy, breathy sustain and kind of tail to the sound. And yeah, I love kind of the out of control nature of drums like this, because they give you so much more sound to play with. You can really play a little bit more spacious and allow the sound of the drums to fill up that space. You're not feeling like you got to play so fast and do a bunch of chops, because the drums aren't really made for that. They're not really set up for that. So you got these nice, big, open, ringy sounds on the snare. And it's still ringing. Look at that, it's still ringing. The tone on the kick drum has this, almost like it has a gate to it. And there's a wrinkle on the front head, so there's not even enough tension on one of these single tension lugs to even get the tension out. So it's got a looseness in one of the heads, which is kind of killing the sustain at a certain point. Or you can bury the beater. Nice and tight, punchy, short, quick. I love these kinds of sounds. So anything that's funky and weird and a little bit different is what I look for in drums, and it's a lot of what we make at Reverie on the drum side of things. Is we're doing kind of funky designs, unique designs to get different kinds of sounds. With the cymbals, it's all about vibe for me. It's like creating a nice vibey sound. I'm not usually going for super clean or like ultra versatile. I'm going for something that's inspiring to play. And it's the same concept with the drums. Something that has like a quirky thing to it, like it's a 15-inch snare drum, so it's got extra ring, or it's a weird field snare that's been restored, but it's not tuned evenly, so it's got a weird funkiness to it and a gated sound. All that kind of stuff is like, that's what I love in drum sounds. So that's what I love, but I would love to know what you guys think, so please drop a comment below about the drums here. Is this the kind of thing you would find yourself playing, or do you find it too weird? Or have you ever even heard of this concept of taking an old field snare and converting it into a kick drum? Or even a kick drum that's 15 inches. That's like insanely small. I've made 14-inch kicks. Well, actually, I've made a 13-inch kick one time. It was a little bit silly. The 14-inch ones are borderline silly. 15-inch ones, it's like magic. There's something about a 15-inch kick drum that I absolutely love. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below.